Hello everybody, today we are here at Futuresmith's office and we are having our very first podcast with a legendary guest amongst us. So we have Mr. Satyajit Bagchi from Nestle. He's the marketing head over there, heading his own vertical and launching new products across pan India, and he has been doing a fantastic work. So just like everybody knows, like everything that we buy today, be it a toothpaste or a coffee or your regular groceries, there are a lot of strategy, marketing, human psychology behind it. And guess the person who curates everything, and that is Mr. Shanto among us. So Shanto, would you like to give us a small intro regarding what you do, how you do it?
First of all, thanks, Oki, and thanks to the Futuresmith team for having me over. It's a privilege to be here. And I am Satyajit or Satya, as people call me. I lead the marketing at the Unina business, which is the pet foods business of Nestle. I have experience spanning over 14 years across different industries, ranging from tobacco to healthcare, consumer healthcare to pet foods right now. And I've been with managing different brands across different organizations, and marketing is where my foot lies in. And yeah,
Super. So a lot of viewers would be interested to know, like how your journey has been and from where to where you have lived in I won't call it a short span of time, it's been more taken of an experience that you hold. So how your early days were done, how you actually got into marketing, that's actually very curious journey to make, because that is the same story with everyone. They start off with something different and they gradually move towards their goal. So how your journey has been in the early days, how you nurtured yourself, especially developing the mindset.
you see, it's very interesting. Since childhood, I always loved solving puzzles, and I think marketing is a very interesting space where you get to solve the human insights, understand what their core needs are, stated or unstated, and then transform into business goals or business objectives, business results. And so it's a right intersection of a human insight and a commercial delivery. Yeah, so it's actually a nice way to unsheath the what the consumers are trying to say or what they need. So it's a very interesting example that I keep on giving. Like, for example, way back in 2010, for example, when Nokia phones or Blackberries were 2010 basically. Nokia or Blackberries were ruling the roost. Yeah. So if at that time you asked a customer what kind of phones they would need, they would have possibly said bigger keyboard or flips and all. So they would have never thought of a phone which is buttons. Right? So at times you don't even know what their requirements are. So as a marketer, your job is to understand where the opportunity lies and then how can you translate it into your business objectives.
Fantastic. So, as we all know, like marketing is a domain which is very promising nowadays, and a lot of people are coming into it. So, in terms of education, like a lot of students and even professionals, they actually go through their journey, which is a little bit difficult in the beginning, because since there is nobody to guide them or a proper way of moving forward, like everybody knows MBA. So, what are the things that you did differently which made you stand out, and especially being the top 1% in the country?
Yeah, so see, one common misconception, especially among the early career professionals or even students, is that marketing is to do a lot with creativity. So the answer is, of course, creativity plays a role, but I would say it's a mix of very hardcore data, insights, and then obviously the creativity that comes in. But if you're not, able to understand or diagnose the problem first, you'll never be able to deliver the solution that you want to. So to get that right diagnosis, it's very important. You are able to sift through, pages of data, reports, research studies, and all, and then identify what your problem is, then you define your objectives, then you try to find a solution. What is your strategy going to be, and then comes the tactics. Creativity comes as a subset of the tactics. So it's a very small percentage of what we do as a marketer. Okay, so as a person who's starting off, my advice would be to try to understand the structure of marketing. So it's hardcore data, a lot of consumer insighting is required, and keep the learning hat on. Okay? So shooting an ad is not what a marketer does. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
Yeah, so one of my seniors, actually my manager, had told that marketing is essentially a jack of all trades, master of some.
Exactly.
And I'll explain how it means. For example, you don't shoot an ad, you don't design the packaging, you don't draft the claims. Yeah? So, but you don't go and sell at the point of sale. Yeah? So you have the sales team, you have the creative team, you have the agencies to support it. But as a marketer, you have to have a grasp of what each of these functions include, and then accordingly draft your strategy and get them on board to your goals. Okay?
Exactly, like aligning to the main primary goal where everybody works as a whole system together with the processes and SOPs in place. Fantastic. So let's say if we have to ask you, like what is the biggest challenge that you have faced so far and which you overcame and made you a different version of yourself? So that is something intriguing and people would love to know about that.
Yeah, I mean, let's see, all the challenges are very unique, and there are challenges which are universal in nature. Like, for example, the COVID pandemic was where we had to reinvent the ways of working and how we approach or reach to our consumers. So that's different. So, but I would say there are certain personal challenges that we have to face. Like, for example, fresh out of school, trying to understand what the problem was, and then instead of just going and trying to solve it from the very first day itself, you need to step back. You need to analyze, diagnose the problem. That's what I was telling previously as well, that you have to know what is the challenge that you're trying to solve. If you go into the solution mode from the very beginning, you will end up doing some part because you'll almost certainly miss what is required. So, and then going to reach out for support from your seniors at the very beginning. Know when to escalate, know when to delegate. All of these play a very softer aspect of your day-to-day job. But it's really important that you learn. And there is no written law book that will help you do it. So it's true. We have this 70-20-10 formula in corporates, right? 70% we learn on the job, 20% you shadow someone senior or someone with experience, and then 10% you do through courses or proper functional trainings. Okay, so it will come with practice. Obviously, it's no rocket science at the same time. So you have to know to keep that learning happening.
So 70-20 learn, I believe people can get that exposure while they're working, and also like shadowing. So the 10% part, that is something which people can actually start beforehand. So if let's say if I'm a layman, like let's say I'm a student who wants to grow my career in marketing or any field of domain. So what are the kind of courses or platforms that we should be in to grow and nurture or hone our skills, or what are the things that we should focus on? Let's say 6 Sigma being one of them. So what are the different things that we can do into?
Okay, so there are no programs that are going to help you overnight. So it has to be a continuous application. And for example, marketing it requires a bit of a discipline to help you give a structure to the entire journey, the problem with the solution. So for that, you need a formal training, and it often is very evident when you are in this industry, when you are interacting with some of the juniors, that many of them don't have the formal understanding of the marketing thing, despite them having an MBA. Yeah, so you have to be disciplined enough to apply yourself to get to that particular expertise level, and then obviously training programs. I would say, as it's rightly the weightage is only 10%. Right? So maximum thing you will learn on the job. So there is no one training program that will equip you to become a industry marketer.
True, true. That's right. So having a fantastic mentor also sets apart.
Yes, of
So
course.
coming to the point of mentors, like I would love to know in your journey, the kind of mentors that you have who have like shaped your journey or who have helped you when you were going through some sort of challenges or obstacles.
Yeah.
So would you like to share some light?
I mean, yeah. So when you look back, then you realize what are the roles they have played in your career. So I have had two different types of mentors. Right? One who is very accommodating and tries to understand you, gives you the space, and lets you take your decision, and then you grow and learn to fall, and then you
Exactly.
get up, and then you
Like learning
building
from
on
your
that.
mistakes.
Yeah. And on the other hand, I had authoritarian bosses as well who said, "No, I want this, I want this, and this." Yeah, so and there were also two sets of people. One were capable, one were not capable. So,
Okay.
so the capable ones, when I was working with them, at times it felt quite miserable because
Yeah.
you realize that why is he making me work so much and making me redo this and all.
Exactly.
But then that helped me understand a lot of things which I was not able to get on my own at that very beginning.
So you realize on a later phase
Yeah.
of the time.
Yeah. So and it was like it seemed as if like why not let me close this project soon rather than letting it getting reiterated multiple times. So it's a spend of my time. Yeah? So but then you realize that the final outcome was much better had it than had it been very closed approach that I had initially started. On the other hand, when authoritarian plus not so capable, then you realize that it's a waste of time for both of us plus the organization. But thankfully, that was limited to few.
Getting it. So another couple of things, like which people face nowadays, especially with the Gen Z culture in the picture. So people are facing a lot of burnout and challenges in their workplaces, especially maintaining their work-life balance. So how do you manage your work-life thing?
See, everyone has their own challenges at workspace or personal lives, so it's up to that person honestly. But what is really good is that the conversations around work-life balance and having a good mental health is increasingly coming up in organizations, and the better organizations they do encourage ways to keep the employees motivated and keep them mentally fit. Yeah, so it's not just all the monies or the remuneration that employee gets that motivates. In the long run, the work has to be fulfilling for work culture. So you spend more waking hours with your colleagues than with your family. So it all becomes very crucial. And as leaders of the organizations, it is the responsibility of the leaders to make sure that they create a conducive environment for the employees.
Yeah, like a good environment plays a very vital role in growth of every single person who's part of the system. So that is very crucial thing to take care of. So, Shunto, like in your journey, like how did you decide that like marketing will be my future, or why marketing?
No, so as I said earlier, that I love that juxtaposition of that human psychology and the commercial aspect of marketing. So and this offered me this right way. And from my first organization itself, where I remember there were like consumer immersions which we used to do, where we used to go to a consumer's house from the morning, at say 7:30 in the morning, and then
At the consumer's house.
the consumer's house, and then follow him through the entire day. So right from him getting ready to have his breakfast to then accompanying him to his workplace. So for example, I had been to a tailor's house in Madurai, and then went to his shop and then tried to understand each and every aspect, how his work and life and play aspect. So work is how he earns his money, life is where he spends his time with his family, and play is where he unwinds himself. So then all of these have different, there are multiple touch points where you can reach out to that consumer with your product. So and then what are the meaningful differentiation you can create in those touch points for that consumer. So if you don't know that consumer, if you don't know what he or she is doing, you will not be able to deliver that offer.
Absolutely.
Whether it be the product or the communication that you want to have. So it helps to understand the consumers. So that gave me a lot of kick at the very beginning, because I was working in a cigarettes industry, so it's a dark industry where you can't advertise, you can't reach out to ATL initiatives. BTL was also restricted. So understanding consumers was absolutely paramount, and the CMI, or the market intelligence, was a very key aspect of our day-to-day lives. So hence I sharpened my skill there, and then obviously that helped me in the future as well. When I was trying to develop a product for, say, a consumer healthcare brand, or say now in pet foods as well.
In pet foods, fantastic. So you are right now working with Nestle, right? So what are the different domains or verticals or new products which are coming for the people out here in India? So
I mean, like, there are a lot of innovations happening. So because obviously there will be always a set of core brands that will continue to deliver the growth, and that will be the face of the business or the organization as a whole. But you have to evolve with the needs of the consumers. So whether it be, say, healthier options. So globally, Nestle is entering into a lot of these healthy snacking, limited portions, and then obviously as the regulations change, we have to make sure that your products are not only compliant but exceed all the deliveries of our consumers. So so there are, say, a few businesses which have been identified in our organization as the future of business. In fact, pet foods is one of those. It's rapidly exploding in India, globally as well. So making sure that we are catching the wave at the right time and catering our offerings or the solutions to the consumers.
fantastic. So what are the obstacles or hurdles that you're facing, and how are you planning to cope up with them?
So there are multiple obstacles that keep on coming, like could be regulatory, could be pricing challenges. Yes, or with the global commodity prices going up, and with the current uncertainties, we have COVID and right now the war going on. Yeah, so that always escalates the commodity prices, so which helps, which in fact adversely affects your margins. So then your ability to invest behind these brands also kind of gets curtailed. So how do we balance these forces? So you can't curtail your demand initiative, otherwise your consumers, that funnel or the pipeline of consumers will keep on driving. So making sure that you keep on reaching out to the consumers, be talking in the right language, and then see obviously having the right product offerings.
Absolutely. Like, we have to understand what our customer wants, what are the needs in the market, like what situation is happening, like considering the overall picture, right? Fantastic. So Shanto, where do you see the future of marketing going on? Where do you see products or the way that we are promoting and pushing into the market, like it goes both offline and online? So how do you see that evolving, especially AI coming into the bigger picture of things, and India investing on it massively in terms of infrastructure, in terms of implementing them in different kind of horizons, especially the creative domain and also in other aspects as well, especially automation and other things. So how do you see AI impacting the marketing aspect of different things, and how we can leverage that, and how you are also leveraging the same?
You see, there are certain functions which AI can help you accelerate further with much more efficiencies. So, for example, earlier you used to do a lot of these consumer reports and go through it in detail, but AI can help you concise it and give a very sharp summary. So that can help you reduce the time to go through reams of data. But at the same time, obviously, you have to use your judgment to figure out what is the right data versus the noise. AI can also help you churn out a lot of interesting ideas, but it can't obviously replace the full creative aspect of it, because human ingenuity still remains, and it's a strong factor. for example, if you are trying to chart out a communication, you can possibly churn out 50 ideas in say 1 minute.
Exactly.
So and you can use it as a thought starter to build your possibly the communication that you want to reach out to your consumers. That 51st idea, the spark, is what AI can provide.
Like helping with the research and getting the idea.
And one thing which AI has done is the way it has democratized data and information. It is much more easy to find particular information online, and marketing is also obviously a beneficiary of that. There are certain things, however, which still will take time for AI to take over, and I don't see AI is like a deterrent, rather it's an enabler. So it's like say 20-30 years back, people said that with digitalization people will lose jobs, but here we are with still digitalization has helped us in fact be more efficient.
Absolutely.
So AI is just a tool, and if we are able to use it in our best way possible, then we can do well. There are certain guardrails, however, we need to be careful of. So and this is something which I've seen a lot of these new joinees or students often do. Like for example, we were trying to get some candidates for a particular contest, and then we could figure out the entries that they were sending was purely generated through AI.
Oh wow.
And it becomes very not a great feeling to see such kind of thing. So obviously you have to use your judgment, your understanding of the problem, and then take AI's help, but don't make that output which is already there in the domain and then present it as your own. So that has to be very clear. Then in terms of creative outputs, there are certain legal aspects of it. We shouldn't infringe on the authors or the creative artists' work. So as a policy, as a company, in our company we follow very strict rules. We can't, say for example, there were Ghibli art, trend which happened recently. But it was very clear that we are not going to latch onto that trend because it's someone's work and we are unduly otherwise would have gotten which we don't know.
Like a lot of brands are into phone.
So there are viral trends that you can obviously catch up to, but make sure that it is not intrusive or it is not there is a difference between moral and ethical. So while you may be ethically right, but it might be morally wrong. So if it is both are known, so you rather don't do it.
Exactly. Better to be safe than sorry, right? Yeah. Super. So a lot of people don't know that you have actually met a teacher before, right?
Yeah.
So how was your experience meeting such a like honestly like after words, like how was your experience and how did you felt? Like what was the aftermath after that?
Oh, I mean, like aftermath, I would say it was extremely inspiring. Half an hour, I would say. So there was this one program, and then we got to meet him along with a few others. He was an ex-president of American and head of his residence, and so there we spent some time discussing about his vision. So for the future of our country, and he was very positive about the youth of India and how they are going to be the pillars for the economic foundation of the country and the moral foundation of the country. He was expressing a lot of these doubts regarding at that time the ISIS crisis was going on in the Middle East. So he was expressing how unfortunate the situation has become, and how as the leaders of the different organizations can help get over this particular crisis. And obviously he's a man who I think everyone in the country loved. There was no lecturer who him, and it was absolutely an honor to be
Super. So Shobto, we have listened to some fantastic insights about the industry and about your journey. So what's your insight for the budding students or budding people who are interested in the field of marketing or in the field of entrepreneurship? So what would you tell those people to focus on, to set their hearts towards?
See, I think this is very evident and very obvious is that keep the learning hat on, because if it's always very easy to get swayed by the or swept by the kind of immediate urgent work that you do.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there will be always some crisis day in day out. Yeah. So in between, you should always keep an eye out and keep some time out to keep on learning and upgrading your skills. So case in point is like, for example, in 2015 when I was managing a FMCG brand for skincare brand. At that time, digital was still at a relatively nascent stage. So there, it was like you allocate 5% of your total budget to digital, some advertisement on YouTube and everything, and then you basically have a main ad, and then you replicate it and put it on, say, YouTube. Yeah, so that's how it works. But now you have to, evolve with the times, understand what are the kind of trends which are catching up. Yeah, so keep that learning hat on, keep an eye out to what are the changes that you need to make to yourself, your approach as a professional. Yeah. At the same time, there are certain things which are going to be the mainstay. So, for example, the basics of marketing, like the way we do segmentation or targeting or positioning of the brand. Way back in, say, the 1960s when it was introduced, so it's still as relevant as in the modern days. Yeah. So make sure that you apply the theories or the classroom learning to your day-to-day activities. Obviously, you won't be realizing at the time of doing it, but when you connect the dots back on, then you'll realize the 4 Ps, for example. We see that in classrooms so often. So it's only when you are doing your work as a marketer, you realize that's the basic skeleton. You need to have a fantastic product without which, no matter how much good a promotional strategy you have, if the product fails, you're gone. At the same time, you can make an excellent Mercedes, but if your consumer is capable of paying a multi price, your excellent product will fail. So price is the second thing. Yeah. So how do you advertise to the consumer? How do you provide the story of your product or your brand to the consumers? That's the promotion. And how do you reach out to your audience in the right manner, at the right time? Yeah, so very important. So these are basics of marketing, which is never going to change. However, obviously there will be some changes which happens depending on the geopolitical situation or the current uncertainties of the world or the evolving technologies, for example AI right now. Yeah, so we never know how it happens, evolves in the future. So you have to keep that learning hat on and make sure that you are up to the edge. And be the best version of yourself in the future.
Fantastic. That's a very fantastic response. So, Shruta, we have heard a lot of things and also insights for the upcoming budding enthusiasts. So, what are the kind of books or content that you have read before? So, that is something which we want to know.
So, there are a lot of these books I like reading, both fiction and non-fiction. So, obviously, one of my favorites is Irrational. You read. So see, I like reading both fiction and non-fiction. So one of my favorite books is Tiny Timelines. So really fast. So it's a fantastic book into consumer insights and behavior. So there is this slow brain and there is this fast brain. Fast brain is one which takes impulsive decisions. Yeah, this is what they are able to observe in the short term. The slow rational part is where you synthesize a lot of this information, take some of your biases out, and then make more logical decisions. So both of these have their own place. So it's a very nice, interesting insight into the consumer side. And in fact, all of us are consumers. Yeah? So I, as a marketer, as is a consumer for multiple brands, including my own products. Yeah? So it's important when you are a marketer and trying to develop something for your audience or target audience. How can you keep your biases aside? So that's a very core realization I had at the beginning of my career, in the first couple of years of my career. Yeah, so I used to think, okay, I do this, so ये consumer को नहीं करेगा. So that mindset has to be kept aside. You have to rely on the data which is hard coded, and then take some assumptions or analysis basis that, and then you come to the particular problem statement.
Absolutely. And I believe nowadays, like data is a key of winning, and a lot of companies are very big on data, especially if you consider the big giants. Like everybody is into data nowadays, and data is very crucial. So how is it that people are like protecting the data of consumers? Because nowadays we see a lot of exploitations which are happening. Like let's say if I talk about like getting a pet and saying that thing a couple of times even though I don't have a pet, but the next thing that I see is an ad popping up with certain products or a couple of things. So like what is your take on it?
See, the way you are seeing the ads, that's not infringement of data. So it's about how your online search behavior is.
Correct.
That's how it's not your personal data getting shared or compromised. So what happens is essentially saying if you search for my dog has ticks, what kind of shampoo do I need to use? So it means that you have a dog. A, that's the first signal you're getting.
Exactly.
B, you are looking for solutions which provides dog shampoo.
Exactly.
Yeah, so then manufacturer of a shampoo company would possibly know that you are able to you are potentially one of their good customers.
Exactly.
And then they will target you. So that the entire trail of your search is available online. So that way they will target you. What is creepy is if they are collecting data on your, say, demographics or your bio data or your personal data, like health data and all, and then using it to tweak the marketing campaign. That is very dodgy and definitely not acceptable.
Absolutely.
So as an organization, we are very clear in terms of data privacy. So there are strong PIA guidelines which we have to adhere to, and any violation can result in serious repercussions. So we make sure that we don't use consumer data, as in customers' personal data, to tweak our messaging or develop our communication.
But we do customize data based on different demographics or areas and regions, right? Let's say the same ad that you are doing in Maharashtra or in Delhi or in, let's say, like eastern part of India or let's say Bangalore, that would be very different than how we are doing it in our different places.
Yeah, so that is essentially a customization of data or your communication. So what used to happen earlier, like say 20 years back, there used to be one mega asset and that used to be run across the multiple markets. So what happens is a person, say, taking a decision on, say, purchase of coffee in say Delhi, will be very different from a person making a decision in, say, Chennai, who was born and brought up in Chennai. Yeah, so the requirements are very different. The usage behavior is also very different. Even when you change the demographics. Yeah, so a young, say, 20-year-old who is into the college versus a 45-year-old who is working at a corporate, their requirements will also be very different. So you can't just have one fixed solution for all. So there is a mass campaign which used to happen. Now we are getting into a mass personalization. Now the difference is you have to personalize basis over smaller demographics or PG sets, but at the same time it needs to be at a certain scale. Hence mass personalization. So for example, one ad instead of going to say 100 crore people, can you create smaller chunks of say 10 crores and reach out to those smaller set of 10 crores. So still a sizable number, but then you are still creating smaller homogeneous groups where you can target with the right messaging. Yes, so that is very important because your brand also needs to evolve. If it keeps on reaching to only one particular audience base, you will So it's a consumer funnel, right? So consumer funnel, consumers will start coming in, some consumers will start moving out. Yeah. So you have to make sure that your inflow is higher than your outflow. If your outflow, the consumers who are giving out, is higher, then you will have lesser and lesser consumers. Your revenues will go down. Yeah, so how can you make sure you acquire new consumers through the right messaging and the right platforms, the right timing? That is critical. So for that, once again, going back to the data bit. So you have to analyze what works for you, what kind of need or triggers are the ones that move the needle for this particular set of needs, and that's how you build.
So let's say if we consolidate the whole overall thing, so what are the key 5 points that you would like to mention to the people that we need to consider or keep in the picture by growing and nurturing ourselves?
I mean, first and foremost is the learning bit. There is no substitute to that. No one can teach you that. Obviously, you will have your leaders or seniors to guide you. You will have professional curriculum to help you, but at the same time, if you are not open to that, you will never grow as a professional. So that's the number one. Second is on making sure you have a structured approach to what you do. So don't take the easy way out. So obviously it might seem that you're saving time, but as I said, you have to diagnose and then identify the problem, then you identify the objective and then the solution. Lastly comes your tactics. Yeah? So don't get into this tactics bit right at the beginning. So you'll be bound to fail. Yeah, so that's the second bit. The third thing is obviously keep up with times. So there are equip yourself, and that also kind of correlates to my first point of learning. So like 5 years back, AI was not mainstream communication or discussion. So now it is in our everyday or lingo. Yeah, so that's something which you need to keep up with the times, understand where the flow is, and then are you at the right place at the right time. Then the fourth and fifth points would be to, as a marketer, know your customers deeply. So if you don't know your customers, then you are just throwing in the air and hoping that you will get the target.
Yeah, you're just shooting in the blanks like that.
Yeah, correct. And then obviously have fun and be daring to stretch the boundaries. Like for example, in terms of that's where the creativity bit comes in. So marketing obviously it's science, but at the same time you have to have the legendary marketing campaigns are built on excellent creative execution. So make sure that you are able to create tracker-breaking communication, which is appealing to that particular consumer sensibilities.
Even nowadays, like since you have mentioned it, we are able to recall some of the very old ads, and we still, like those things still linger among us, and the emotions, the kind of emotions that they evoke are just fantastic. So the next journey, since you have already mentioned AI and another couple of things, so where do you see marketing in the upcoming 1 or 2 decades ahead?
See, marketing is always as a function going to even a whole division of say consumer brands. Okay? So because they are the ones, as I said, almost like a central function to the different divisions of the group. Okay? So whether it be the sales, legal team, or the creative team, or the communications team. So so once again, what is the question of
so my question is, where do you see marketing in the upcoming 1 or 2 decades ahead?
Okay. See, we don't know how to predict beyond 5 years, right? Sitting in 2019 beginning, you would have predicted how the world would have evolved. Yeah, so the way digitalization has accelerated, it's unbelievable. It was unbelievable. So you don't know how it is going to work, but there are certain functions of marketing which will still remain the holy grail. And that bit is not going to change. To grow customers, knowing their deeply, the data behind it, the rigor behind understanding the consumer insights. None of these are going to change. Okay? So way back in 60s, the basics of the segmentation, the targeting, the positioning, that's not going to change. What's going to change is how do we execute it. So, yeah, for example, and the tools that help the marketplace work. So right now we have digital replacing or rather getting further augmented with AI. So there could be another newfangled thing which comes up which helps the jobs of the marketplace. But the core remains the same.
So, what was the last campaign that you did which was very intriguing or very exhilarating for you?
Sorry. So recently we launched a campaign for one of the brands that we manage. It's called Felix. It's a cat food brand from Divina. Globally a billionaire brand sold across the world. First established and launched in the United Kingdom. Now, so that's so it is a red cat food brand which is got gravy in it. Yeah, so now we were trying to figure out how do we communicate it to the Indian audience. So while globally there are fantastic campaigns, but some of these might not be as culturally resonant with our Indian target audience. So what we thought was when you take any Indian meal, whether it be a North Indian meal or a Bengali meal or a say South Indian meal, or even a Mangalorian dish. No meal is complete without gravy.
Exactly.
So it's essentially Indian meals equal to gravy. So the logic was that if humans have such good gravy dishes for themselves, so why should the cats get left out?
Exactly. Like they should also have a.
They should also have and that's how we connected an Indianness to that we want to do. And it's got a very good response. We tagged in Samantha Prabhu for the campaign, and we've got very good response in this so far. And so it's essentially what I'm trying to say is when you launch a particular campaign, you have to make sure that your ad is memorable. It's very single-minded in nature, in the sense you don't layer message upon message to a particular.
Shouldn't have too much of
it. Because it is information overload nowadays. So there are so many brands trying to grab your attention. So if you don't keep your messaging sharp, you'll get lost in this. So there's a single-mindedness of it, and also the third bit is it has to be internal, it has to be clutter breaking. Because in an ad break, for example, in a TV program, we will have the 6-7 different ads running one after the other. So if your ad is very generic, it's not creating those memorable hooks, you'll get lost. Absolutely. So that's how we have approached this.
So Shuto, we had a very fantastic time with you, and the insights that you have shared, your expertise that you have shared, it was liquid gold information that we have had with your vast amount of experience and knowledge, and we hope to do more such amazing sessions up ahead as well. So thank you so much for your presence today, and last but not the least, thank you so much for coming here, and we'd love to see you guys join in again for our next session. So until then, goodbye, take care, and take care of your health. Bye bye.